What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Couple Things
with Shawn and Andrew,
a podcast all about couples
and the things they go through.
Today's episode was actually requested by you guys. We are doing a form of a reaction podcast.
That's right. Reacting to why people don't want to have kids.
Yes. We pulled a ton of these statistics and thoughts and opinions from Reddit. So we'll go through a lot of them and kind of unpack them and talk about them. Some are funny, some are serious. I do want to say, though, before we get started, that if you are one of those that doesn't want to have kids, we know every single person in the world has their own journey, and that's great.
I always say there's a lot of ways to live a good life, and having kids is only one of them. So if you don't want to have kids, this is not in any way trying to make fun of you. Mm-mm. This is just us reacting to some of the reasons that we found on Reddit, on Instagram, that people said they don't want to have kids. So thank you for this idea. I'm pretty excited about this. I haven't read through all of these, so I think this will be funny. Also, it is worth noting that not everybody can have kids, and we also empathize with you. So anyway, hope you find this episode entertaining, and before we jump into it, please subscribe to the show and give it a rating. And thanks for being here. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Let me just brag on my wife if this is your first episode listening to us. My wife is a boss, and she was an Olympian, Dancing with the Stars champion. She's done a lot of cool things TV shows. I'm just bragging on you. Okay. I just am. And
are you wanting this to be reciprocated?
I think the thing I'm most proud of you is, how do you say that sentence? I think the thing I'm most proud of you for is your momming.
Thank you, baby.
You're great at the momming thing.
I do know for us, we were two of those people that we always dreamt of being parents, whether that was adoptive or biological. We just always wanted to be parents. And so it truly, when people requested this podcast for the other side of it, I was so excited because I love learning about people. I love learning about playing devil's advocate, just hearing other people's opinions. I think it truly helps me understand people. Also, to reciprocate, my husband is a boss.
No, I did not.
Vanderbilt, MBA, went on to play in the NFL, full ride scholarship, D1 athlete, phenomenal father. You were on American Ninja Warrior.
Oh, that's right.
Multiple times.
I did do that. Super mediocre performances there.
Stop it.
But also, Shawn and I know people who have 7 kids, 11 kids. We also know couples who are in their 70s and decided not to have kids.
Yeah.
And it's fun to see how, again, both people can live such fulfilling lives.
Yeah. Actually.
What?
So, fun fact, my godparents never had children.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Now I know who you're talking about.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Right. They never had children. And their reason was a little bit different. So, husband and wife fell in love, have been, high school sweethearts, been married for 50-some years. The wife, truly to her core, just never wanted kids, never wanted her own children. The husband did, but for their relationship, they mutually decided within their relationship that they weren't going to.
How beautiful is that?
So beautiful.
Making marriage work.
Yeah.
You know what we should do an episode on? Because I get why people don't want to have kids. I mean, it's stressful. We'll go over this. Yeah. But we should do an episode on why people do want to have kids.
For sure. Yeah.
Because it's just a journey. Both sides. I would be curious to hear the other side too.
Yeah.
Anyway, you ready to jump into this?
I am. Okay. Comments from Reddit.
All right. Here we go. First one is, I work full-time in a nursery, and there's no way I'm spending 9 to 6 with children and then coming home to more children. Nope.
I do totally, I do understand that. We have actually, we have interviewed nannies before and babysitters who have said, I love working with children, but I personally don't want children. This is how I spend my life with kids. And I do think a lot of teachers and stuff share that same sentiment. I think you can have a passion for children, but not want to come home to them. So I get it.
I get that.
I get that.
When we put the kids down at bedtime, we are toasted. We're wrecked.
Yeah.
It's exhausting. I mean, kids really take it out of you. You want to read the next one?
The next one says, I would be a terrible parent, but a great uncle. Again, I think it's a very similar situation of people love children, But being able to have their freedom and space when they go home is something that they enjoy, which I totally get.
Someone described parenting as like the most constant thing.
Yeah.
Which is true. Like there's no, once you're a parent, there's no like, oh, this isn't for me. It's, you're there. You're into it. You're committed. You have a kid to take care of.
I will say that was the
It's a
most
lot.
intimidating thought to me when I was pregnant was, oh my gosh, like this is a morbid thought, but like it's not like a dog where you've got 12, years.
Wow.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And that's morbid. But I was like, this is in it. Like we're in it.
Oh, man. All right, next one. The fact that nothing really makes me want to have them is why I don't want to have kids. I feel like you should have an overwhelming desire to become a parent, and I don't, so why would I have a kid?
I think that's fair.
I would be interested to get some sort of statistics on, like, your godparents. One person really wanted to have kids, the other didn't. Like, what percentage of people are, like, super pumped before having kids? You know what I'm saying? Like, how excited are people before having kids?
Yeah. Another person says the idea of being responsible for a human being isn't for me. I feel like I can barely take care of myself. That is totally agree with you.
Yeah. Yep. That's where some people are. I get it. I'm scared of pregnancy and birth. I have nothing but respect for women who choose to put themselves through that, but it's going to be a hard pass for me. Pregnancy and childbirth are the closest thing I can imagine to a horror movie. Just the thought of something growing inside of me, morphing my body beyond my control, and then tearing its way out is something that very much lives in my nightmares.
I mean, yeah, me too.
Do people get psyched out about childbirth?
Yes, absolutely.
Really?
It was one of the scariest parts about having a kid for me. It's just, yeah, it's scary. There's a lot of things that can go very, very wrong. The pain factor of it, the not having control factor. I will say there was a part in Drew's pregnancy, not so much Jet, because I understood, where it was almost this, it would come in waves in like the first or second trimester, where the only way I can describe it is almost like claustrophobia, but like reversed. How is it? I don't know how that's possible. Like a panic sensation of like, oh my gosh, get this out of me.
That's really weird.
Like where it's like it's almost like you're trapped. I would panic.
Pregnancy's wild.
It's
dude.
wild.
It's wild.
It's wild.
I remember you having, you were like trimmering right before you were about to give birth to Drew because of, I think, the anticipation of what's going to happen. Like, what is this going to be like, this process?
And I was in excruciating pain.
True.
I was literally in shock. Just letting you know. Okay. The next person says, I have 2 roommates, so I don't really want a baby living with my 2 roommates. That is fair.
Yeah. Yeah. Like financially, some people, obviously a baby is a financial like investment. There's a lot of resources that you have to put behind it.
I like the next one.
Okay. Next one is, have you ever met a kid? That's why I don't want one. They're wild.
Yeah. So my parents were in the same boat as this in saying they didn't want kids. They got married when they were 16, and it took them all the way until they were 32 to decide maybe we'll try. And that's when they had me. But they were like the same way. My mom just said, she will openly tell you, she's like, I didn't think I was a kid person. Like I didn't think, I was never one that wanted to babysit. I didn't like love being around children. I just didn't feel like I had like a connection with them. Which makes it sound like strange. But
people do say that you have way more patience with your own kid than with other people's kids. Even when you have kids, like we find other kids annoying if they're not ours, right?
Yeah.
And there's something about, I don't know, I guess maybe it's this aspect of selfishness where it's like, hey, this little thing looks like me, so I'm gonna treat it better. Or it looks like, probably better to say it looks like the person I love the most, so I'm gonna treat it better. But
are you saying you love yourself the most?
No, you.
But our children look like you.
Jet looks like you, dude. And I think your patience for kids grow as well.
Yeah.
I'm reflecting on the process of marrying Shawn and then talking about kids and then having kids. You kind of turn your focus from yourself to like your spouse and then your kids. And it's like the shedding of, it's understanding that, you know what, this isn't about me.
Yeah.
And that hurts sometimes. It's difficult, but it's not about me. Those are my thoughts. Today's episode is brought to you by AG1. You know what really gets me going, babe?
Whoa. What's that?
My morning beverages. I've got a strong lineup.
Really had no idea where you're going with that, but I do agree.
I start with chugging a cup of water, make a coffee, and then I crush my AG1. AG1 is a small micro habit with big benefits. It's one thing that you can do every single day to take great care of yourself. With just one scoop in your water or smoothie every morning, you get 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right.
That's right. We're huge fans. Plus, it costs you less than $3 a day. It's literally the one thing I recommend to my friends and family when they ask what they can do to better their health.
And to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase.
All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/EastFam. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/EastFam to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance.
We'll also link it down below. Let's get back to it.
I have zero desire to have a child, just like I have no desire to pet a rhino or become a lawyer. Just have no desire.
I get it.
I get that. That's fair.
I'm curious which of these come from females, which of these come from males.
I know. I also want to add something. So as we go through this, we've already we are aware we are kid people. And please, if you fall within this category of you are not kid people, we're not trying to convince you.
No.
No. I truly want to understand this, and I love this, and I love the humor behind some of these comments, and I love the seriousness behind it. So just know, we're not trying to convince you. We're just trying to, wrap our mind around it.
I think it's, maybe people listening to this hear one of these, and they're like, yeah, that's actually how I feel.
Yeah.
Good for you. Next one is, I have no paternal instinct at all. Don't think I could develop one. Yep.
I'd love to test that some way, but
yeah. How do you determine?
Next one. If you tell your friends you're considering buying a sports car, you'll get questions like, are you sure you can afford it? You know it needs special care, right? Do you think it's practical? And if you answer with, I just want one, they will say you're immature and you're making a bad financial decision. Somehow it's okay when it comes to bringing another life into the world, which is confusing to me. Huh. I actually agree with that.
That is interesting.
We have talked about this before, on other podcasts, where when it comes to planning for a child, you do need to be very smart. And I know accidents happen, and sometimes you just get pregnant. But I think making smart decisions, can you actually afford to take care of a child? Can you meet their needs no matter what they are? And do you think it's practical?
I think where this analogy departs from the situation of having a child is it's way more than just a financial decision.
For sure.
There's so many other factors.
For sure. And but I do think at the one of those factors is can you support a child? For sure.
To the credit of whoever wrote this, you should have a kid if you are able to, with a lot of thought.
Absolutely.
Hey, what is this going to look like? Sit down. I wish we did this more. Sit down and think about, how are we going to go about this process? What's going to look like? What are your expectations? What are my expectations? Yeah. And really put a lot of thought into it as, you were making a big life decision.
If you walked into a Maserati dealership and they're like, show me your bank account, and you have $100 in there and you can't pay rent, you probably shouldn't buy a Maserati. So you probably shouldn't have a kid.
I would never walk into a Maserati dealership.
I tried to think of an expensive sports car.
All right. That was a funny one. I like that one. Next up, the screaming in the next aisle over at the grocery store because they can't have the item they want makes me not want one.
I will actually agree with you here. before we had our kids, and we're lucky we don't have screamers, but like I had been around children before who were screamers, and I was just like, no, I don't think I could ever deal with that.
Well, and before having a kid, you listen to that and you're like, wow, this poor kid is not getting parented correctly. But then once you have a kid, you're like
that poor parent.
yeah,
what did that piece?
I think there's a comedian that talks on that. Yeah. But honestly, that's one of the hardest things about parenting for me is the noise, the constant noise. Where for whatever reason I maybe like I'm more sensitive. I don't know why, but
I
like,
am very
it stresses me
noise.
out.
Yes.
And can we just have 5 minutes of silence?
I
get loud. I get loud, dude. No lie. But it's
this
balanced.
This is just hitting.
It's balanced.
Coming from the man who was screaming at the top of his lungs last night, the Lion King, as both of our children were trying to match him. Stop it. I literally looked at Andrew last night and I was like, could you please turn it down? I am so overstimulated. I need silence.
There's a lot of stimulation that goes with it. Anyway, next one. You got it.
Okay. The vast majority of parents I meet complain about having children and how much of a struggle it is, how expensive it is, how they get no sleep, no free time, etc. Then they finish their complaints by saying, but it's the best thing I ever did.
I've tried to vocalize this.
Yeah.
The downsides and the difficulties of parenting are so easy and so tangible to communicate.
Yeah.
Whereas the beautiful part about parenting is more like intangible, ambiguous, like just feeling sort of things that people don't easily understand. Like if I say to someone, "Wow, this is tough," because I went from getting 8 hours of sleep a night to 2 hours of sleep a night. People are like, "Wow, I get that."
Yeah.
But if I'm like, "Hey, I get to watch my kid grow and learn from day to day," it's like that doesn't hit the same.
No.
It
doesn't hit until you have a kid, and that's if you have a kid because you want a kid. Like there's so many aspects to that, but it's it's hard.
So that would be my rebuttal to that one. Next one is kids are sticky.
They get
things. What the heck? This
everywhere.
is so freaking true, dude. I'm talking. How many times did I wipe Jet's nose today? And then he's drooling everywhere. He's got this neck. He doesn't even have a neck, but he has like this neck roll that just gets slobber all built into it. They got honey and syrup in crevices. I don't even know where.
And then have you ever watched a kid eat that like their entire hand is in their mouth and then it's on their face and then it's touching your upholstered chairs and it,
dude, Jet's crawling through wet mulch today. Drenching his clothes. He's fallen in the pool. He's got dirt everywhere. He bit into a dirt clod.
I will say, all I heard, I was in the kitchen this morning making breakfast, and all I hear is Andrew outside go, "Bro, what the, dude, what are you doing?"
It's wild.
To our 10-month-old.
But to touch on the last one where it's like, wow, I always hear how much of a struggle parenting is. I consider all the like things like this, kids are sticky. Yeah. It's like a memory. It's like, wow, that's hilarious. Yeah. It's hard. It's funny and it's a good memory.
I was an OCD clean freak before kids. I still am, but now I've just had to like.
We just had a conversation about me not cleaning the house. Like
I've loosened the reins a little bit.
My heart rate just increased. Oh my gosh!
I have loosened the reins a little bit for my standard. Okay. Next one. Having to meet other parents. They're worse than the kids. Yes, you have your opinion, and that's valid. I would say what I've learned with parenting and other parents is parenting immediately puts you into certain parenting style buckets. Like there are a handful of different styles that parents take on. And if you don't mesh with those styles, sometimes it's very hard to like mesh as a human.
For instance, there are parents who put their kids on sleep schedules, and there are parents who don't put their kids on sleep schedules. There are parents who are holistic. There are parents who don't really care about the kids' diets. There are parents who like to get their kids involved in camps and school from an early age. There are
some who discipline, some don't. And all of these different things kind of draw parents farther apart or closer together. And because your life is so consuming with children, if you are only talking about your kids as a parent to another parent, if you don't mesh in those worlds, you have nothing to talk about.
No, but I think that's the wrong way to think about it too. It's almost like politics, where you're forced to make a decision. Like if I'm a politician, I have to vote on this issue. If I'm a parent, I have to make decisions for my kids. So I'm either going to put them on a sleep schedule or I'm not. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then that's how like your style's drawn out and kind of amplified.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that the right approach is, hey, this parent does things different than me, so I'm not even going to talk to them.
I agree, except you did just use the analogy that parenting styles are like politics.
I
so
know.
even though they shouldn't be polarizing, they are.
But they shouldn't be.
They shouldn't be, but they are.
It should be grounds for fertile conversation
we're getting
about
into political
differences.
debate. Next one.
It's like beauty about it doesn't have to be aggressive debate. It could just be like, wow, that's cool. We both love our kids. It's like you can be different and love each other.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Next one says, you know when people are out in public and people see other parents of children and immediately think those people should never have had kids. That's me. I'm those people. That's what this person said. That's funny.
That is funny.
Next
I've actually never seen people like that. Here's what's cool about parenting. I feel like when you have a kid, you step up to the plate.
I do think there are people in the world who shouldn't.
Wow, hot take from Shawn. There you go. Okay. I've never seen one.
I think we've had conversations with rabbis, pastors, a lot of people, and I've asked the question multiple times. Do you think there are people in the world who are capable of being just absolutely evil? And they've both said yes, and I don't think those people should have children because that makes me very scared for those kids.
Okay.
So that's like a very extreme.
Parents. But I'm talking, when I think of the word parent, I think of like, wow, they're there in their kid's life. Not like, hey, I have a kid.
I know, but it says those people should never have had kids.
All right. I get it. You're saying there's bad people in the world.
And there's bad people. And if you're bad people and you're not going to be nice to children, you shouldn't have children.
My thought is,
or
everyone's out here giving it their best effort. I would like to think.
No, a lot of people aren't. I think a lot of people are not giving it their best effort.
This has turned into such a different conversation.
A lot of people are cruel to children, and they shouldn't be around children or have children.
I think, okay, yeah.
I'm in a dark spot. You're in a hopeful spot.
I'm in the rosy-colored glasses.
I'm in a, like, keep your kids inside.
Next up, we have... Takes two to make a baby, and I've never met a man I want to deal with for the rest of my life, unfortunately. Yikes.
I think we should give you a different podcast. I think we should serve up the dating podcast.
No, dating and marriage is not for everybody either.
No, I know, but like, I feel like within this statement, there is I've never met a man I want to deal with for the rest of my life, unfortunately. She put unfortunately in there. So that means... there's a hopeful side of...
She wants it.
She wants it. So, we did a podcast with a dating professional.
Yes, Melissa.
And...
who?
The dating coach.
Oh.
Why am I...
Matthew Hussey.
Yes. Go check him out. Awesome insight.
But on this...
hopefully, fortunately, you'll find a guy you would like to spend the rest of your life with.
But to reiterate an earlier point, like, there's a tinge, I'm going to try to say this gently. You might be thinking about yourself too much. Was that gently? I'm just saying, no one's going to fit your like checklist bullet point of like, wow, you make me feel so good all the time. No, freaking Shawn is annoying as crap sometimes with your cleanliness standards, making me organize the house. But that's okay. That doesn't mean it's a no-go for me. It's like wow, we're different, but we love each other deeply, like politics.
You know what you could say is, thank you, babe, for keeping our house so
I could say
nice.
that, but I could also say, chill the freak out. Let me sit on the couch for a second.
You sit on the couch a lot.
This is wild, dude. I was not expecting this conversation for this podcast. Yeah. Okay, you're up.
BetterHelp. Help us out. Okay. Next one. Losing the rest of my youth in exchange for raising a child sounds really hard.
Ooh, that's deep. Thoughts.
It is. It is really hard.
Yeah.
I have friends who are the same age as us who aren't married, are still dating, don't have kids, and are running wild around the world doing such incredible things. And I think it's just a difference of perspective and passions. It is very hard. For us, we have chosen this, and for a lot of people, it's not what you want, which I totally get.
What is it about your youth that you're scared of giving up, or that you're scared of exchanging a kid for?
I think a lot of people are really afraid with kids in losing their quote unquote freedom, their ability to, on a whim, do whatever they want with no responsibility.
A couple things come to mind. I read a book called The War of Art, talking about how when we have infinite possibilities, we do nothing. Like people think freedom is being able to choose from this list of infinite things, but that's not actually what we want as humans. I don't think. We read something else yesterday in a book talking about how freedom is actually making room for the things that you want most. So maybe this person wants, like, maybe their highest desire, their strongest desire is, I want to travel and see as many cultures as I can before I die. That's great. Probably kid would definitely interrupt that. But going through that process of evaluating what are your desires and how do you prioritize them, I think would be super helpful in understanding would a kid fit into that or not. I'm making sense.
Yeah.
I'm making sense.
You are.
You're giving me a funny face. I'm saying decide what you want. And then maybe a kid fits in that, maybe it doesn't. What? Say something.
You know what I'm laughing at.
The dog?
Does Thor howl all of a sudden?
Yes.
Is he a wolf?
There's a dog in the background.
But he's like howling.
How?
What? Okay.
What do you think about what the frick I just said?
I agree with that. And I think that plays into the last one, which says, I love to travel solo. I love to explore this world. I would not have the time, money, or the ability to travel that way or the way that I want if I had kids. And I think just like you're saying, it's a perspective of like, where do your priorities lie? What is it you're really wanting to like do with your time? If like you said, you want to travel the world by yourself, that is your dream in life, then yeah, adding kids to that is probably not going to fit into that dream. But a different perspective is like, you could still travel the world with kids, but it would make it a lot harder. It would make it more expensive. So I totally understand this. But
here are my thoughts. Closing thoughts.
Okay.
I think it's important to be intentional with your life. Don't just stumble through life day to day, going through the motions, like going to college because you just feel like that's the right thing, or getting married because you think that's the right thing, or having kids because you think that's just what you're supposed to do. Be intentional. And like, this makes me think of our goal setting episode, which we did. Shawn and I spend a full day every year going through, what do we want this next 12 months to look like? We're trying to do a better job at looking 3, 5, 10 years ahead, but being intentional with your time and what you're pursuing and what path you're walking down. That's what I take away from this. Some people are intentionally not having kids. Mm-hmm. That's great. Doesn't fit their profile. Other people maybe haven't thought through what their intentions are. Yeah. And I think this is a good challenge, and maybe use it as inspiration to sit down and write, like literally the process of writing down your goals or what you want out of life, or, you know, whatever. You can listen to the episode if you want to see how we break it down, but like that process of literally putting pen to paper really helps you clarify what you want. I also want to add to, just again, to legitimize, and like, your reasons are your reasons, and those are legitimate. But one of my very, very best friends fits into this category. We had a conversation a couple years ago. She's a
social worker, and she works with teenage kids, and she works with like some of the hardest cases out there. And she's married, and I asked her the question. I was like, is kids in your like future? Is that something you guys are going to pursue as far as in whatever way, shape, or form that is? And she's like, I don't think kids are for us. And I asked her why. And I just remember her saying, and I had never really thought about that before, but she said, I deal with the hardest cases with children every single day. And I've seen how parents have, quote unquote, to a certain extent, messed it up. And she's like, my biggest fear is that I would be that same person. And I think tragedy and pain falls into this a lot. I think there's a lot of hardship that people don't want to relive or live through or deal with. And I think, again, whatever reason it is, it's legitimate for you.
Also, don't discount the effect that growing older and time and maturing can have on your perspective. Again, one way or another, but like your perspective on things could change. Like right now, or at least when I was 20, I was worried about playing football and getting a job and traveling the world. And now I don't really want to travel. Yeah. I want to stay home and hang out with my wife and kids and be with my friends. You do?
I do.
All right. Good talk. Thank you so much. Anyway, that's all we got. I hope you found this episode entertaining, maybe thought-provoking. Maybe someone vocalized something that you were feeling in a way that really helped you see it clearer. So I hope you pulled something out of this episode. Yeah. And if you want us to do more of these reaction type videos, like reacting to why people do want to have kids, or reacting to why people don't want to get married or do want to get married, or yada, the list goes on, then let us know, and maybe toss in an idea with what that might be. But that's all we have for you. If you made it this far, please subscribe to the show. Give it a rating. This was fun, babe. I love you.
Fun. I love you, baby.
I like our kids.
I love our kids.
Yeah, sorry, me too. And I love you.
I like you.
I'm Andrew.
I love you. I'm Shawn.
We're the East fam.